who's there. And you also have posted rules. You get a bunch of people, strangers together, living in a, say, a gymnasium or some other activity. You know, there's a potential for conflict. There's a potential for people who are already under a lot of stress to be short-tempered. You know, problems can crop up very, very quickly if you aren't careful. And people need to be, to the extent you can, make sure they understand what the code of conduct is if you use that type of term. Fast here. On a shelter, once again, it requires suitable facilities. You've got to have a gym or school or something like that has in the building. That typically means shower facilities, adequate toilet facilities. Although there are workarounds to that, chemical toilets, you can have portable. Anybody that's ever been in the military, you know they have these little portable shower setups, and I think the Red Cross has those. Although in Maine, dead of winter, you may not want to do that. But in any event, it's a very resource-intensive thing. Depending on how large a shelter is, you have to have the infrastructure, the expendable supplies, that sort of thing to support it. Cots, blankets. Food handling facilities, which can be very basic, and that can be actually in some cases where they hand out, prepackaged meals like the military has, that sort of thing. But even then, you have issue of trash disposal and that sort of thing. Various considerations that have cropped up is security and crime prevention. Many of y'all have heard stories about the Superdome in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and how much of that is true, I don't know, but certainly it can have a very dampening effect if you have robberies, thefts, or anything like that. And it is possible anytime you have large crowds of people and you leave your stuff unattended, it could disappear. Medical issues. You have something like 10% of the American population are diabetic. And that creates issues with having access to refrigeration for their insulin or other medical needs. Another issue is entertainment. You're sitting around in a gymnasium, not a whole lot to do, kids maybe, whatever. You've got to have some means of keeping people occupied. Otherwise, you're probably asking for trouble. Now, warming centers are typically locally operated, but you still need a suitable facility, and you need to have heat, power, hot, cold water. And you need, when I say power, that it applies emergency power in case of an outage, and I believe we have that here. The Red Cross, as a matter of policy, generally will not support a Red Cross, a cooling center, generally speaking. There are exceptions to the rule, but as a rule, if it's a considered local short-term event, they do not get involved. If it goes beyond that, then they're prepared to, as a rule, open a shelter and take that slack, if you will. Warming centers, cooling centers, often will provide some amenities. And here's where you may incur some costs, a coffee machine or coffee, snacks. You need to be careful about that when you start handing out food, though. I mean, it needs to be something, from 7-Eleven kind of stuff, where you're not preparing food. Have internet access. That's certainly if you have people that, obviously it's not a requirement, but it certainly is it fills that entertainment, gives people means of communication, things of that sort. And it allows, also you have given the ability to charge phones or other, iPods or other devices. And also, a warming and cooling center should also serve as an authoritative source of information. And you already have that here in a sense that the town hall would be the people that you would call typically. And they would normally be in contact with, the Eddington Fire Department, state police, so they could give you, hopefully give people an authoritative sense of information. If you've ever been in a disaster, and I've been in a few, man, it can be, now this was all pre-internet age, but it was really hard to get information. And in some areas, areas may be blocked off by the authorities and you can't get in. And of course, when you control your house, is it destroyed, is it burned down, is it being looted? So, and also a lot of times Red Cross is stressed in the training is that you always try to present yourself as the authoritative sense to be the official source of information. That means you have to be proactive to get out there and find information, talk to the state police, hopefully if you have radio communication, that sort of thing. These are things that we need to consider if we're going with the warming center. I'm trying to bubble that out. But, anyway, you need to have some kind of a trigger for activation and closing. What triggers it?
Power's out.
I'm sorry?
Power's out for a certain amount of time.
Temperature.
Power out? Yeah, who makes that decision?
Is it cold? Is it hot out?
Right.
Let's just take this past winter as an example. How long on Route 9 were people without power?
5 days.
How many?
5 at my house.
5? Is that typical? It was 6 on Hopkins Pond Road. I've heard other areas with 3 or 4 days. I don't know. So you have just because there's an outage may not mean it's across the board. As an example, Hopkins Pond Road, there's 7 or 8 families there year round, whereas some other road may have 30 families. Well, I would say utility companies are going to take care of 30 families before they take care of 7, and that just goes with the territory.
Yeah.
You need to, which follows into identifying the extent of the need. How many people are affected? Once again, how big a problem do you have? Our power goes out. I can usually tell that everybody else is out because I can view the generators. That's usually a good clue. But sometimes we've kept our generators on and found out the power's been on for 2 hours because we didn't really have an easy way of.
You can get the electric company to call you when the power.
Yeah, we do that. We have done that. Our phone service in Hopkins Pond is.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's third world, but I had better phone service in a Middle Eastern country at times. Another consideration is ADA compliance. And I believe this building, just eyeballing, it's pretty well in compliance. You have ramps and all that, but you always need to be prepared for people with special needs, and that's the diabetic, the people in wheelchair, the hearing or sight impaired, where the depending on, especially if you're dealing with elderly, it can be very, very, you need to be very, very careful if they slip and fall and break a hip. I mean, it can be easy to become a life or death situation. Pets. People, I'm very attached to our cats. And if I had to evacuate, I'd take them with me. I'd find a way to take care of them. You're in a warming center, you're talking about people coming here for a short period of time, a matter of hours and all that. So pets may not be such an issue, but it could come up, and it has come up in other towns or other locations where, people keep their pets with them, their little doggy or whatever, and that needs to be taken into consideration. You do not want the pets to come in here though, because if you have an allergy situation, and there's also a sanitary problem as well, or if it's a dog and the dog's stressed out and bites somebody, these things have happened. And then another consideration, what's the community expectations? What do they expect? And I kind of bring this up with some trepidation in a sense, is that there have been situations where people have, say through financial difficulty or what, have been unable to pay their electric bill or some other situation. What do you do with that? If they call and say, I need a place to warm up, and they haven't paid their electric bill. That's the intent of a warming center, at least from the Red Cross perspective, is it's some general public outage or some other public situation. And it's not designed for an individual so much. There are other resources that individual or family can access. Red Cross can help them out. They can put them in a motel. You know, they have various criteria on how that works. But and they are, for example, house fires. Typically, Red Cross reports to, you know, when there's a house fire or something like that. Or at least they did in Virginia. It was very common that they would set up and they would help families get at least temporary lodging and all that. And it's my understanding Maine operates pretty well the same way. But nevertheless, we need to have if we go with this, we would want to make sure that expectations, we understood the community expectations and they understood the town's capabilities. So there would not be that disconnect. And what you do through that is having a good written standard procedures and that sort of thing, so that people, at least you have it on record that, you know, this is what we can do and this is what we can't do. One of the dangers of warming centers is inadvertently transiting into being a shelter, okay? And there's a big threshold to cover. I mean, what happens if people don't want to leave? You know, I don't have one place to go to. The fallback there is you deal with the Red Cross, and hopefully you can get them shelter. If it's a big crisis like that, the Red Cross, if there's a general outage, I believe last year they did in fact open the Brewer shelter for a while. They didn't
Yes,
have it.
they
They're out here and actually over the water.
Yeah. So,
They were up to spring home.
Yeah.
yeah.
They weren't sure what
Yes.
was stood in the.
Yeah.
So the Red Cross is very proactive. So, you know, once again, this is kind of safety net we're looking at. It's just, you know, the elderly or those that have some needs, give them a place to warm up, maybe get a cup of coffee, you know, maybe wash their face. We don't have shower facilities here. And once again, if you have shower facilities, that opens up a lot of sanitation issues and that you have to deal with.
ADA costs that are huge.
I'm sorry?
ADA costs that are huge, they have a handicap shower, it's huge.
Doesn't the Red Cross they bring in portable showers, don't they?
Yes, they do. And much along the military thing. But the Red Cross would not support a warming center out here. If it was that extent, or they told me that, the Red Cross coordinator in Bangor has told me, Clifton County has told me that they typically that would be triggering a shelter. And we do not want to be in competition with the Red Cross for people. You know, if it's that kind of situation, I doubt the town has the resources to adequately deal with that. We would,
So like during the ice storm, if we had a procedure for a warming center, say the power had been out for a full 24 hours, that the town office would be open as a warming center from 10 to 2 during the day or something like that.
People are 80 years old and freeze at night, can you really tell them to get the hell out?
At that point, we'd have to say go to the Red Cross.
Yeah.
Right.
well, that's community relations and the community expectations play into that. Is when you have someone who won't leave. We've had problems with this before. At shelters in particular, because there you have people that are homeless. And one of the things that you'll see in there is that the Red Cross really encourages and has information available, and insurance company often sends contacts there. Say insurance companies do that frequently after a hurricane, for example. They go to Red Cross shelters and track down their policyholders. And the whole thrust of this is to get people not just sitting around moping over the, you know, and traumatized, but to try to get them back on their feet and encourage them to be proactive in that sort of thing. Otherwise, your shelter becomes a homeless shelter, and that is something you probably do not want. Shelters can be quite burdensome. They take a lot of people. Someone has to be there. Someone has to register people. Someone has to feed them. Someone has to clean the facility, or at least coordinate someone cleaning the facility. Now, once again, there's there are workarounds. You know, the Red Cross does have showers, portable shower systems, but they're not going to bring them out here.
So from our perspective, Dave, it sounds like we got some legwork to do
Yes, we
as a
do.
community, and kind of get resources and develop some type of plan for what we have for capability.
Well, what I think we need to do is, what is our vision for this? Number one, do we want to
Right.
have a warming center? And number two, what is our vision? One of the key problems, or not problem, that's an overstatement. One of the key challenges is you do not want to have an unstaffed facility. Now, that facility is staffed during business hours on a normal workday if the office is open. That satisfies that requirement. But what do you do on Saturdays? What do you do on Sundays? What do you do on holidays? Also, you cannot really count on who's going to come and who's not going to come. That can be hit or miss. The Red Cross says that they, at best, when they move into a community when there's been a natural disaster, to include tornadoes where there's large homeless groups and all that, that usually at best they only have 10% of the population participating. Now, I was kind of surprised by that, but people go off to families, that sort of thing. So those are considerations to make. Is oh yeah, I'll use the shelter, and then you're here for 8 hours and 3 people show up. Okay, and 2 of them are to maybe wash their face or use the bathroom or whatever. So sometimes it'd be hard to predict what the use is.
I did have a question. A couple of years ago, we had to put together a disaster plan.
Yes.
Did we have anything in there about the warming center? Not warming center.
Not warming center.
There is areas we need to go to. Okay. That part's all set up. Okay. But we did talk about, we had a few phone calls the last ice storm. People just want to come get water or, maybe just to stay warm for a little bit.
What happened on Hopkins Pond Road? Some of the families there had generators, others didn't, all that. Some of the families, one of our neighbors, opened up kind of warming center for some others to come and take showers.
Yeah.
And that, it was kind of a little community, but certainly informal and that sort of thing. And I think in a town like Clifton, there's a lot of family considerations, so that you can always go to Aunt Peg's house or something like that. Assuming the roads are clear.
I think we was concerned about the elderly in town.
The elderly.
Making sure they were safe.
Do we have an emergency management director
For the town?
for the town?
That's you guys, the select board. When we signed up for that.
Teresa?
Because I am running for the legislature, I try to go to all the town meetings and planning boards and school boards, so figure out what people want, what they need. And I was just at the Holden one, and they are working on developing new plans for their whole building to rearrange everything. And they will have, closer to us in Brewer, a shelter which will have handicap showering facilities in it, and so they have kitchens and other things. So maybe if we did temporary things, and then maybe could help to transport people to other places to work out something cooperative with things that are close by for people who have needs, with other communities that are right here that have facilities, might be to our best interest.
Anything else, Dave?
Well, there's a lot of resources. Red Cross, Maine, EMA have all said, they'll be happy to help with some constraints, obviously. Red Cross in particular. Maine EMA is in a position to provide some advice and guidance. FEMA, I don't know, being an ex-federal employee, but once again, FEMA does have a lot of information, and what FEMA does have is grants. You foresee that. And then, of course, you have the normal Maine, 211 Maine, United Way, police and fire departments, other communities, I'm told, although I've not had an opportunity to visit them, but like Bucksport has some modest little facility. And the Red Cross rep in town says you try to find some other, so we maybe go visit, talk to them, that sort of thing, lessons learned. And there's a ton of information out there, especially post 9/11, as you know. what's that federal, well, FEMA has their website and all, and there's tons and tons of information. But anyway, it leads me to this, our next steps, does the town want to proceed with establishing it, and these are some of the things to consider. We want to obviously incorporate it into the town's disaster plan, which is a very good plan. Very pleasant surprise when I read that. Probably a better plan than Fairfax County, Virginia, which has like 1 million people. But anyway, we need to coordinate that obviously with the appropriate officials, fire, police, and that sort of thing. We may incur some modest fund expenditure if we wanted to have some kind of a basic amenities. A lot of this stuff we probably get through donations. I probably have no coffee pot at home, things like that, some extra blankets and things like that. Now, once again, I'm coming up with a bias here is that I came from an environment where the lawyers really looked over your shoulder. And if we are going to do this, we probably should have, and the Red Cross recommended this as well, is that you should always have your town attorney review your plans and just look and make sure, there aren't any issues there that he or she might have issues with. That part of it is by keeping staffing here, having a town representative here, you obviate a lot of it in case you don't leave someone unattended, and if something happens, then you're even though I think this town would probably have some kind of qualified immunity, but nevertheless, it's someone has a heart attack and there's no one here to call 911. That's good. Anyway, that is my short presentation. I think it's certainly doable.
Thank you. Appreciate your effort, Dave. So, suggestions, recommendations for how we proceed?
You just put back on again.
Dave, how do we shut the light
I'm
on?
going to let it cool down.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thoughts, ideas?
I personally would like to see us work on warming center policy. I don't know if it would have been used during the ice storm, but I just know there were so many people without power for so long, it might have helped some people. But I do agree that we need all these procedures in place.
I think this would be a fine place for a community volunteer committee, something, to kind of delve into this a little bit with Dave, because we have a lot of resources up there. I'm looking for recommendation. It sounds nice to have a warming center, and I certainly agree, Julie. I think that should happen. But I would like some community involvement, not left at the discretion of the board to decide on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, because we'll never get it done.
Can we put something on the agenda for next month for community input?
Eric?
Well, Dave has a lot of experience at it, so I think maybe if Dave is willing, if we can do, and work with some other people, get some kind of a survey going about what happened last winter, and maybe it might involve some people going door to door. It might take a couple months to figure it all out, find out, who actually, maybe not by name, some people might not want to say, but find out about how many people were really in the lurch and had, really on the edge, and if they would have come over for it.
Right.
So kind of just, that would be the first general practical thing to do, and the other thing that would be a benefit of that would be, if we didn't have just one person doing it, we've got several people doing it, then that would encourage some door-to-door interaction as well. Because then that would be a good way to at least get the needs assessment going. And then, like Dave also said, I think that as far as donations, I think we could probably put together quite a list. Probably a lot of people have stuff that they'd be more than happy to donate to the cause, whether it be blankets or whatever. I think, to be honest with you, I think the first problem you're going to have is if you ask for donations, where to store all the stuff. I think that would be probably the first problem, because if people are going to have stuff they want to get rid of, then you're going to have a place to store it. and stage out of it, and then some of the stuff is gonna, you know, you're gonna have to keep the moths from getting to it, and the mice and this and that, and,
Mildew.
you know, obviously, any of the appliances you get, you're gonna have to have somebody go over them, to make sure that they're not a fire hazard, et cetera, all the kind of legal things that Dave was sort of implying in this discussion. But I mean, I do think, I agree with you, it needs to be done from a different group than the planning board and select board. I mean, there needs to be more people involved in what goes on in town to spread the wealth, so to speak.
I would like to see a survey of some description, whether it's house to house or what it is, because I'm not clear, and I would like to have a better handle on just who had a hard time last year. You know, we talk about the elderly, we know we have a huge amount of elderly people, but when you sit in this office for 3 or 4 hours and you see people coming in that you know live alone, can't pay their taxes, asking for help on that, I mean, those are the kinds of things I think as community leaders up here, we need to have a handle on that. And maybe just a simple survey that is, ice storm last year, could you have used a warming center at the town office? These are the limitations and restrictions, this is all we can offer, nothing more, but then have resources to put into it on what perhaps they might utilize and direct them there. Because we're not gonna do showers, we're not gonna feed, we're not gonna do any of that stuff.
But if we did have coffee and a place to wash your hands and go to the bathroom, that's
Yeah.
not such a bad
You
thing.
got that?
Charge your
No.
phone so that you're.
Right, charge your phone.
No, I think that's a great idea, but I think we need to have that resource available from a committee group or from somebody to say, you know, this is what we have to offer, but then the resources to refer them to if it becomes longer than that day.
May I suggest this, I'll take it as an action item to go ahead and start drafting maybe a prototype SOP. I'm not very good at surveys though, if someone else will take the lead on the survey part, but I'll start writing some kind of a straw man, if you will, that I can offer hopefully at next selectmen meeting and kind of, you know, is this the direction we want to go, and have some rules in there and all. Because I kind of like doing that kind of stuff, really. I don't like going door to door.
Well, I think, you know, we could use our newsletter, we could, you know, I'm open for suggestions of whatever. I think there's a lot of people that would have come here and gotten warm midweek, had a nice hot cup of coffee that, you know, perhaps didn't have that availability last year for 8 days we were without power, but we have generators, you know, even to have resources of people close to you that you could go say, come to my house and take a shower, I've got a generator. You know, we all live and survive out on the pond where we are and all take care of each other, but there could be 4 families up on the top of Rebel Hill that I could do that same thing with that we don't know about, so it's again,
It's just a
communication.
node where people can come.
Yes,
and connect, because they don't
absolutely.
even know that somebody has a generator. Maybe there's somebody with a generator that has a pickup truck that's more than happy to go out to their house for, you know, a little while and hook up some appliances for them or whatever
Yeah.
off the back of their truck.
Yeah.
when they need it.
Yep.
You could also leave the survey
At the office.
at the office, I
Okay.
think that worked well.
Yeah,
last time.
yep,
I
yep.
can't remember what we were doing.
We put a date
Library
on it,
is-
and ask that it be copied and spread out.
Yeah, and then maybe return by such a date, okay. How about if maybe we put together some questions? I mean, the one question I'd like to know, just put out is, could anybody in town have utilized a warming center during our power outage?
And would you?
And would you?
Just 'cause they
And would
couldn't
you?
even
Yeah,
do it.
would you? Exactly.
Well, we need just a suggestion to make sure, because one thing Red Cross says, people get confused about shelter versus
Right,
warming
right.
center. You have to understand
Yes.
what, they have to understand what it is. That we're not offering another place to live.
Right,
We're
right.
offering
Okay, so perhaps need
and
to,
I'll,
Like, could you have used a warming center from 10 to 2 during the day?
well, one of the things we covered in the briefing, though, is Red Cross said some of the key times are early in the morning when people are going to work, and then
Right.
after you
Coming
get off work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, and of course, then that conflicts with the town's hours, and, you know,
And kids getting out of school.
you know, you have to work through that. And that could possibly, you know, volunteer or something like that could be, you know, just to have a presence. You don't want to turn the keys over to anybody.
Right.
I strongly recommend against that.
do we have air conditioning here? We don't do it.
We
We do?
Yeah.
One.
Oh, okay, but nothing in here if this was even a, could we only please have an oppressive summer? You know, need to have somebody to be cool. Yeah, okay, all right,
I was just
Oh.
gonna say, we should really mail that survey out.
Yeah.
Because most of the older people in town
I
aren't
don't
on
have internet,
here,
I know,
so
I know.
if we mailed it out and also in it asked for volunteers that wanted to be
Yeah.
involved in the committee
Yeah,
to
good idea,
implement the plan.
okay.
That's all, breakdowns and things that we think might, we should put into a survey.
Okay.
Or information we should give to people.
Okay.
And that makes.
I'll research on Red Cross and see, they may already have some. kind
Okay,
of a-
all right.
And I'll email that if I can find something. There are pre-existing. I would caution
Guidelines.
putting too much faith in the survey, because
Yeah.
it's easy to say, oh, yeah, I'd do that, or no, I wouldn't, and
No, but did you have a need? Were you out? Did you need water? Were you cold? Any of those?
Well, maybe guidance from the Red Cross, they must have stuff like that
I'll
of some
check,
description.
I'll take it,
Yeah,
I'll take
okay.
it as an action to check Red Cross sources, see if there's some kind of, or maybe Maine EMA as
Yeah.
well, see if there's already some pre-existing
Mhm.
thing that we can then tailor to our needs, maybe.
Are you gonna be contacting like the local Red Cross office here?
Yeah.
If they're registering everybody coming into their shelter, you might wanna ask how many Clifton residents use their shelter in the ice
Okay.
storm. That way it might give us an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give her a call.
I'll make a motion, we table the warming center, discussion until next month, we can all have some questions together, and Dave will bring us back more information.
Okay. Any other discussion? That's good. All those in favor? Okay. Nancy did. With this brings, and I know we're getting late into our evening here, but with this brings the discussion that I've had with Joan and the library ladies about resources in this room for storage or for whatever we might need. And the question has been with the closet in there, how we share this room. It's not that any of us want the library to go away, because we do not. But it certainly is a room that's totally underutilized for what we need it to be. So if we ever could have a warming center, we were looking around at how could we perhaps make space available here to put blankets in or towels or something and utilize a coffee pot or do something. So that brought up the issue of whose room is that? Is it the town? Is it the library's? Is it jointly owned? And I still don't know that I have any answers to those questions yet. We don't.
Joint.
What? Joint?
share.
Okay, joint
There's town
share.
stuff there, there's library stuff there.
Okay.
That
Okay.
tells me we share.
Okay, good job. I like that theory. I like that thought.
The evidence is there.
Yeah. So, that, at least conversation has happened that we need to look at.
I just have
Perhaps.
a question.
Yes.
With town and library stuff, Joan, is there stuff in there that doesn't need to be there?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Like it should be cleaned out?
Like, do we need all Christmas ornaments and rolls of paper and Lord knows what else.
So it probably, at the very least, be cleaned out.
Yes.
Have yard sale.
But we gotta do that carefully because looking for old records and things for the library.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't just start chucking things.
I would.
Well, there's 4 file cabinets back there that we can't even get to, so
I
that's
have no
one.
idea what's in them.
I don't either, but I think it behooves us to look at it and see what's there, and
After we
also.
move the other ton of stuff in front of
Yes,
them.
yes, exactly. So, if everybody is okay with that, perhaps we could plan a day when we could get together. What would you like to do, Miss Joan? You're the representative library lady here.
Oh, the other went home, didn't they?
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody could be around on a Wednesday, I don't care, say 1 o'clock on Wednesday, because we generally open at 2. we'll have to move most of the stuff out here in the way,
Mhm,
go through it,
mhm, yeah,
and put back what's organized and being kept.
yeah,
And the rest of it, well, I'll give it to the town.
yeah,
Because I know there's some town things in there.
yeah, well, that's what we need to look at and see,
But there's no reason it can't be a shared space.
yeah.
The previous lady, Lynn Baker,
Mhm.
did all kinds of decorating for all of the holidays and things, but we've been very lax in that.
Mhm.
And all that stuff is there. Do you wanna keep that around for some reason or not?
Or maybe it can also be given to.
Condensed,
Consolidated.
yeah.
I know the reading lady would decorate it, and you know what
Yeah.
she was doing.
Well, perhaps at that process anyway, so maybe
When?
next Wednesday at 1 o'clock?
Next Wednesday, did you say?
Yeah, is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Any volunteers?
Anybody else come?
Any volunteers that
Okay.
you're asking for? If my schedule's open, I'll come help.
Yep.
I can carry boxes.
We don't have much room to move around in,
Yeah,
where 2 or 3 people, 3
Yeah.
people would be fine.
yeah, okay, all right.
Thank you, ladies.
Next Wednesday at 1 o'clock, library. Got it. Now, that brings me also to, we had discussion earlier about the chairs and that big desk down back. To either put them on the lawn and say free, or go to recycle day, or what do we want to do with them?
I say put them out for free, right? I
Yeah.
tried to give them away, nobody wants it, so.
There's a bulletin, yeah. Not even the desk?
Do they know if it's outside and they can see it, they might
Yeah,
want it?
someone will pick that
Yeah,
up.
the desk, yeah.
Taking it out.
And then not
back in for
recycle
work.
it.
So we
I just
need
leave it up
a
there.
couple men
Someone
to
will take it.
haul it out.
Cleanup's
Guarantee
coming.
it.
Yeah.
Free stuff? Yeah, I say put it out for free and then clean up day if it's still here.
Okay.
I don't think Jim has room for it anymore.
No, I know.
We used to give him all the old
Okay,
bags.
that's all the things that I had.
Do we have a couple people that lug it out? Right.
Gentlemen? Any gentlemen that could plug that desk out tonight? Look at them all high. Look at them all high.
Yeah.
There we go.
When you leave, take it
I don't
with
think
you.
that's
Cheers.
what you said.
I volunteered the guy with white hair in the back chair. There, where'd he go?
That's slow.
Yeah, there's one of them.
This one is.
From labor, equal right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just the.
Okay, anything else, ladies, that we had on our agenda that we haven't discussed? It seems like we've covered an awful lot of stuff.
You probably gonna be a quick meeting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay, so, public access.
Take the bottom gift, that's what I forgot. Hands up.
Yes.
All right. How many of you guys know what the Maine Clean Election Act is? Anybody?
I
The
don't think
Maine
it's worth
Clean
it.
Election Act is, when you do your taxes, there's a little box that you check off and it says, well, will you donate $3 to the Maine Clean Election Act? And if you check that box off, they'll donate $3 to this fund. And then people like me who don't have access to a lot of money can go run for office. And the state will give us some campaign funds, a very small amount of that money. I went around and collected those donations from folks, and then I went to the state with those clean election donations, and they're giving me a little bit of money to run a campaign. Now, my idea is, should I spend all my money on me? Sounds pretty good. Or can I dual purpose this money? It is taxpayer money. And one of the things I figured that I can do is to actually try to work on the things that I actually care about and get some action done on the things that I care about and use this taxpayer money at the same time. So doing workshops, for instance, I can host workshops in places like this. If you guys come up with computers that people can use and access, and some of these workshops can include website building and how to do emails and how to get senior citizens onto these other kind of things. As far as building entrepreneurship in communities, we can have workshops that are put on by WWC, which will help people develop their own business plans and how to build your website and how to market, and all this is free. And you can come and do this in a little place like this and get some really good advice and get started and move up to the SCORE, which is Senior Council of Retired Executives, and get some more information. And by the time you're done, you've got all kinds of free information about how to build a small business of your own, get it marketed, put it up there and work on it, and then your business plans are built and you can go to the Small Business Administration that also puts on free workshops. And we could be using these buildings and facilities to help our community to develop their small businesses. We don't get rich working for other people, but if you find something you love and you're passionate about, it's your hobby or whatever it is you're doing, and you build a business on that, they usually thrive and grow, and folks tend to do pretty well. So that's one of the things I'd like to be doing with this taxpayer money, is to be putting on informational workshops, especially promoting small businesses and things. So using a facility like this would be very helpful.
The one thing key to that is that we have no internet access here in
At
this
this
office.
point. But that doesn't preclude that they couldn't come in and have their own laptops and Wi-Fi's and show people how to do stuff and still do PowerPoint discussions and explain you how to build your websites and how to take it home and how to build your business plans and how to turn what you love doing into something profitable.
Rick,
At one of our previous meetings, I tried to record, and for whatever reason, my camera decided not to do any recording. So I'd like to take this time to thank Jessica Gray. She supplied me with her recording of that meeting, and because of that, we now have a copy of it for the town use. So I just want to say thank you to Jessica for working with me on that.
thanks, Rick.